this computer.
Is it
Okay.
just like 6 people that are on?
Yeah, there should be about 6 people in here. Okay, I'm recording now, so go ahead. Table's yours.
Okay. I'm Sharon Reece Chud, and I'm a functional medicine practitioner and nutritionist. I've been doing this a while, and I have been seeing quite a lot of fibromyalgia clients. And the longer I've been doing this, I realized just what I think Nancy said, or Arlene. There's usually a root cause for fibromyalgia, and that's more of where the thinking is going in the circles of research for fibromyalgia, is there is a root cause. So I look for the root cause. I often find toxins in the body. So let me pull up my slide. Okay. So I want to talk to you about cellular detoxification. And I use that when there is a toxin in the body.
I'm sorry, Sharon. Are you wanting to share your screen with us?
Didn't I do that?
No. Click share screen.
I don't see that.
It's in the middle green menu button.
Got it. Okay.
And then select your presentation.
Okay. Okay. Now can you see it?
Yeah, now we can. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. So this is going to be about cellular detoxification. It's just the second part of the first talk that I gave, and this is my my practice, SRC Diet and Wellness, and like I said, we're going to talk about cellular detoxification. So let's talk about what are toxins in the body that could possibly be a cause of fibromyalgia. One thing I ask my clients, especially in the age group that I am, I say, do you have silver fillings still in your mouth? 50% of those fillings are mercury. We're actually the only country that still allows mercury fillings, and they're still being used. And they're very toxic. There's a lot of acid in our mouth that washes over the silver fillings, and it just slowly liberates some silver, some mercury, and it's stored in the brain. And it's stored in the brain indefinitely, but it wreaks havoc on the body. And fibromyalgia is one of the downstream causes of fibromyalgia would be something like a mercury. So if I suspect mercury, I'll ask questions like, even if they had the fillings taken out, like I have had mine taken out in my 20s. But in those days, we didn't have special dentists to do it. They just took them out. And that liberated a lot of silver, a lot of mercury. So now we recommend that you go to a biological dentist. They have special equipment with vacuums that vacuums it up as soon as they take it out, and oxygen masks, and very elaborate equipment to get the mercury out of these teeth. So another one is lead. We don't have that much lead in our environment anymore, but up until 1975, they used lead in paint and lead in pencils. And if you're a child of a mother who was living in that era, you can get lead from your mother through the placenta in vitro. So she can pass it on to you, you can pass it on to your children. and lead is accumulated in the bones, and also stays there indefinitely, forever. It stays with you until you get it out. So if I suspect one of these or another metal, I give, I'm able even virtually to order tests for my clients, and I order not very expensive heavy metals tests. They're about $60 for the urine and $60 for the hair. I like to do both because I get, you know, just in case one doesn't come through, I get the other one. And I oftentimes will pick up mercury toxicity, and that affects every single cell in the body. So we went over this. So what else? Mold and biotoxins. Most of my clients actually are biotoxin, and that includes, biotoxins includes mold and Lyme, both of them. Both of them are biotoxins, and they produce a mycotoxin, mold does, that stays in the colon and really wreaks havoc on the body. I don't have slides on this particular thing, but I just wanted to tell you that there's also something called CIRS, C-I-R-S, and chronic inflammatory response syndrome. They found that 20% of the population has one of 9 genes on the HLA chromosome. So if you happen to be so lucky to be in that 20% and you come into contact with mold, even for a few hours, the mold activates the gene, and that's what the defect is. What happens is your immune system turns on to combat the mold, but it doesn't turn off. And your brain gets inflamed. And that's why many mold, people who have mold illness or Lyme, get a lot of brain symptoms like foggy brain, foggy head, anxiety that they never had this kind of anxiety before. It's like come out of nowhere. Nerves, like they'll even feel like electric on their skin. There's a lot of symptoms for CIRS, and there is a way to fix it. I mean, it's a very difficult diagnosis, but there's a treatment for it. There's a treatment of CIRS, and then once that inflammation is treated and it goes down, then you can treat for the mold mycotoxins. And everything's affected by this. The GI is affected. You might think, oh, I have a problem with my GI. I have to go to a GI doctor. It's all stems from this toxin that produces this inflammatory hereditary reaction. And it affects every part of the body, hormones, nerves, brain, and it just gets worse if it's not treated. I have one client that came to me and she's bedridden for 7 years. I just had a client at 5 o'clock today a young girl, and she was so sick when she came to me, and it's only been like 5 months, and she's like, has all her symptoms are gone. I'm like so proud of her, and we haven't even started the detox part of it. We just kind of focused on the CIRS and getting the inflammation down. But all those symptoms that were making her miserable, including pain all over, subsided. Another toxin is neurotoxins, toxins that affect our nerves. They're pesticides like glycoside. They're, let's see, They're in household cleaners like formaldehyde, furniture like phenols or glue, mattresses and pillows, cookware, the Teflon that we use every time you scratch it because you're scooping something up, that is a chemical. They did a whole special on Netflix on that. And you really should not, you should get green cookware or aluminum. I don't like the iron because actually the iron can come, be liberated from that. So another toxin is low-grade bacterial infections. And this often comes from a root canal. Functional medicine, we're not really happy with root canals. We don't think they're the best way to go. Very often, a root canal will have little cavities in the bottom root, and it will harbor anaerobic bacteria, and it will cause your immune system to be constantly circulating and needing to be on alert for this bacteria. And it's a real stress on the body, and I would consider that a toxin. Also, your microbiome dysbiosis. I actually think all these things, mold, mercury, they all are connected also to the gut. You have a very strong brain and gut connection. So when something's affecting the brain, like mercury or like mold when you have SIRS, it's going to affect your gut eventually. You will start thinking, oh, I have Crohn's disease, or, it feels like that. It feels like SIBO, and people run and get SIBO tests and they run to GI doctors. But really, you have to start at the root cause. But you also have to treat this. You usually get microbiome dysbiosis, meaning one or two of the bad bacteria in your colon grow to a much higher amount than you want. And what SIBO is good bacteria that are in the colon, but they migrate up into the intestine. So you don't want them there because they eat carbohydrate and they make either methane gas or hydrogen gas, and they make you feel miserable. They make you feel bloated. And we have to get rid of that. But you also could have viruses. This is also where mold hangs out in your gut. And also you can have worms. And for those of you who eat sushi, or parasites. Parasites can also wreak havoc on your body. So this is what I look for. I look for it from symptoms. All right, let's see. What else? I think I forgot some. Let's see. Also, household cleaners. I always, maybe the 4th or 5th session I have with my clients, I have about 6 handouts I send them. Household cleaners that they should not use anymore because they contain chlorine, phenols, ethylbenzene, all kinds of chemicals. Use cleaners from Whole Foods that have vinegar and citrus, and change over. You're breathing in so many chemicals in our world now. I was going to say something political, but I'm not going to do that. So in our world now, we're really bombarded with neurotoxins. And a lot of people are not only getting fibromyalgia, but autoimmune disease. And this has a lot to do with it. There's also beauty products have a tremendous amount of, I don't know if I'm, no, I didn't pick them, amount of phenols and different parabens in them. that was the hardest for me to give up my lipstick and all that stuff. But you know, there's a lot of chemicals in that. Furniture contains glue and formaldehyde, totally a neurotoxin. Pillows, mattresses, they're made from petroleum. That's the foam that's in mattresses. So what do all these things affect your mitochondria in every single cell of your body? And it also affects your cell wall. And I can go into that in a little while. So how do I know if my client is toxic, or how do you know if you're toxic? It's first of all, it's your symptoms. You know, I ask you questions and I see you have a lot of neurological symptoms. That usually tells me there's a toxin. Even if there's some gut symptoms, I'll think there's a toxin. Very often, if I hear there's high adrenals or low adrenals, very often that is also a toxin. It's not, you know, it's just a different manifestation. Testing, like I said, some of the tests are very inexpensive, like heavy metal. Some of them are a little more expensive, like there's a mycotoxin urine test that actually breaks down the mycotoxins and tells you exactly what you have, which is important because when you get along in treatment, there's certain binders that work with certain mycotoxins. So that's about, it's a company called the Great Plains. It's a gold standard test that mostly every functional medicine doctor and practitioner uses, and it identifies mold. And Lyme, I didn't know, one of your members just said that Medicare pays for, I forget the name of that, it's the gold standard for Lyme.
Hygienics.
Right. Yeah, I was trying to get that for my client because she could not get anybody to order that for her. So finally I found somebody to order that for her, but she's not 65 or over. So also you see these markers here. These are markers that I check. These are only 3 of them. I just need 3 of 8 of these markers. That's blood markers, like a regular blood test from LabCorp, that are usually elevated when my client has SIRS. So also there's a Medioxy test. It's about $85, and it's a urine test that indicates that your cells are toxic. So how do I go about, can't get this, treating? How do I treat these toxins? Well, the first step, and these are the 5 R's for healing for functional medicine. Like every functional medicine practitioner knows about the 5 R's. Remove, regenerate, restore, reduce, and for our purpose, I added remethylate, so it's replace and remethylate. So let's remove. So that means remove the source, I think I spelled that wrong, of the toxin. If it's mold, you need to remove the mold in your home. It's from, you can see, take an inspection of your home, dripping water, if you had a leak, if you had, in your basement, if you had a little bit of flood, maybe your sump pump didn't work one rainstorm and it came up. Anytime you have a flood, you have mold. So basically, there's 2 choices. You either remediate the mold. Some people just cut walls out. They have people come in and cut walls out, or move. And then, which is really, I make it sound like it's not cavalier, but this is a major thing for people. It's devastating. Some people have to leave their everything. They leave everything in their home too. You can't take the clothes with you because that gets on your, you know, mold gets into your clothes from the air. So in the body, I remove mold from with a cellular detox, and that's what I'm going to be basically going over today. If it's amalgams, you remove them with a biological dentist. And then after you remove them, you can do a cellular detox. You can do a cellular detox one round, but you can't keep doing it if they have silver fillings. So you can do one round, stop. They have to have their silver fillings removed. And then you remove mercury with cellular detoxification. I don't know why my, okay. For microbiome dysbiosis, you use a cellular detox and at the same time heal the gut lining for 3 weeks and then identify which microbes have overgrown. You do that with another test. These are all functional medicine tests. You can't even get a medical doctor to write for these because they look at you like you're crazy. They don't know what it is and they don't really put any value in it. So, so the test I use is called the GI map, and it maps out exactly what's in your colon. And just send you a kit, and you take a specimen and send it in, and they map it out for you. And they see if you have parasites as well. Okay. More things you can do to remove toxins and things that you could do. Eat organic produce and grass-fed meats. This is so important now in this day and age. I know it's more expensive. It's just so important. Everything is sprayed with Roundup or glyphosate, and it actually, they found that it's absolutely neurotoxic to your body. And what is fibromyalgia? It affects your nerves, the small fibers in your nerves. So also decrease reliance on man-made synthetic medications. I don't want to put down Western medicine, but the difference is they treat symptoms, and we look for the root cause and treat the root cause. Do a cellular detox that I'm going to go into. Remove the toxin cleaning products from your home and remove the furniture, mattresses, pillows made with toxins. You know, this is all a change in habits and lifestyle that's hard, and just do one at a time. You know, I just did it over a couple of years. First, I changed my cleaning products and my beauty products and my pans. And so you just can add to it. So the second R of the 5 R's is regenerate. So that's part of the cellular detox. The first stage of the cellular detox is to regenerate the cell membrane. Toxins all affect the cell membrane, and I think I have a picture of that. No. Yes. If you can see that these are receptors on the top here. Every cell membrane, this is your cell, has cell receptors. So your hormones and your enzymes, they come around in the blood and it's like a doorbell. They ring the doorbell and the receptor opens the door and lets the enzyme in or lets the hormone in. And if you have toxins in your body, they have found that the receptors are damaged. So the first thing we want to do is restore the cell membrane. And we do that with a product, Vista 1 and Vista 2, that has the right kind of lipids in there that comprise the cell membranes and nourish the cell membranes. It's just the right food and the right amount for cell membranes. And so that's in the first phase. Also, you want to restore the mitochondria, the ATP in the mitochondria. ATP is energy. The mitochondria in every cell in our body make the energy. And they found that with fibromyalgia people, they not only have less ATP production in their cells, they also have less mitochondria. This doesn't have to stay that way. We can change that by giving the mitochondria ingredients to increase the ATP production. And that's what we do in phase 1. And it's important before we detox to do that, because we want to get the cells ready. And it's the cells also that detox inside the cell with glutathione. So we want to get that process going so that every cell will detox. Because if every cell doesn't detox, your major organs aren't going to be detoxing well, and you're not going to get all that, whatever you want to get, toxin out. Okay. So another of the 5 R's is reduce. So reduce inflammation, causing decreased waste removal inside the cell. So also, if you don't restore the cell membrane, the toxins that are produced in the cell don't have a way out, and they stay in the cell and inflame the cell. And that's what it means by decreased waste removal, because every cell has to remove its waste also. And remove dietary sources of inflammation, such as sugars, trans fats, gluten, and grains. I consider sugar a toxin. It tastes good, but it's a toxin. Trans fats, gluten, and grains as well. I personally don't like too many grains in a diet, in a person's diet. All right, replace and remethylate. I think I'm way ahead of myself here. Okay, so when we kill the organisms, that the microbes that have grown, we also have to replace them with the right probiotics, the right prebiotics. And I find the Cellular Detox that I use, the company I use, is the best detox. It contains methylated B vitamins for all the methylation cycles. So methylation is a cycle that's used in many systems in the body. It's used in hormones. It's used, for example, in the metabolism of estrogen. And some people, 30% of the population, one of them has a genetic, it's called a SNP, where one facet is missing, and you're not able to methylate. So you can't turn folic acid into folate, which you need for the methylation cycle. So you have to take methylated vitamins. You know, some people are tested. It's an expensive genetic test. And some people, I just give the methylated vitamins just in case. I also can sometimes tell by if certain of their body systems aren't working properly. I can tell that they're not methylating, because you need to methylate to detox. Okay, so the cellular detox, to sum up the first part of it, is ingredients to rejuvenate the cell wall, ingredients to increase the ATP production in the mitochondria. There are certain products which removes the biotoxins from mold in the cell with specific forms of glutathione that gets into the cell. So your liver needs glutathione, your cells need glutathione to detox. And so my cellular detox provides it in a product called G-Cell. And then there's binders that bind to toxins to remove them in the gut. And it prevents auto-intoxication, which means if it's not done properly, it just keeps circulating. It doesn't go out into the gut, into the colon, into the stool. It just keeps getting reabsorbed. The toxins go around and around. But with binders such as this, they can't do that because the molecule is too big, so it binds. So one thing I make sure before I even start a cellular detox is I make sure my clients' detoxification pathways are open. You do a phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification in your liver. Your liver and kidney have to be really optimal working order to detox. Your lymph needs to be, detox pathway needs to be open and working optimally. Sweating is really good for detox because it gets toxins out through the skin, and brushing the skin is really good for detoxing. And whatever, just you have to avoid constipation if you're going to be detoxing. So this is just a diagram that shows the cellular detox requires the lymph, the kidneys, the liver, and the gut all to get out into the toilet these toxins. And they forgot one is the skin as well. It drains the brain of the mercury. The mold a lot of times gets stored in the brain too. And it also goes into the liver, and it actually involves the pancreas too, because the liver makes bile stored in the pancreas, and that binds with the mycotoxins or metals, and it goes into the gut. And then, so that's how I approach, and I agree with your member that they're finding now, and I wouldn't say that everyone needs a Lyme test, but everybody, I think, who has fibromyalgia, their clinicians should look deeper into what the root cause is, because there usually is a root cause. That's it. That's the end. So I'm Sharon Chud, and you can reach me at the number down there if you want to jot it down. And I'll take questions if you want.